Welcome to the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. Are you over 40 and tired of struggling with your weight, dieting, and constantly feeling like you're starting over with nutrition and fitness? Do you wish you had more energy? Do you want to lose weight and finally keep it off for good? I'm Lil, a certified nutrition coach and former registered nurse. I too have been there, and at the age of 44, I decided I was done with fad diets and chasing a lower number on the scale. I was so tired of constantly starting over and wondering why I couldn't get lasting results. I became a nutrition coach and created the Feel Your Best formula for women who want to build muscle, lose fat, and keep it off for good. If you're ready to build a better relationship with food, the scale, and your body, let's build your formula for feeling your best. If you're new here, make sure to check the episode details for the link to my newbie starter guide. You'll receive an email straight to your inbox with everything you need to start building your Feel Your Best formula. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hey guys, welcome to episode 34 of the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. And today we are talking about 5 steps to get started right with your macros. And if you're listening here, then I've obviously talked a lot about macros, but I haven't really given you a step-by-step guide on getting started right. Now, if you work with me one-to-one, this is a very individualized process where we take into account your holistic aspects of your life, your schedule, your past history with food and dieting, where you are now, why you are where you are now, and all of those things. And we make this a very individualized process. But if you are someone who wants to figure this out on your own, I'm just going to lay out a step-by-step guide for you here. Now, when it comes to macros, if you want to take a deeper dive and learn more, then make sure to sign up for my Demystifying Macros mini podcast, where I just walk you through the different macros, energy balance, how you can lose weight with macros, things like that. But here in today's episode, I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step way for you to actually get started. All right, now, very first thing, I want to kind of set the stage here. Weighing your food. We're going to talk about this more in the steps, but before I give you the steps, we have to talk about a food scale, and let's dispel some myths and ideas about the food scale, because this is the number one thing that held me back from getting started with macros. Is I had it in my head that it was disordered and obsessive to use a food scale. That is a message that for years and years I had received, and I believed it. I thought, if someone's weighing their food, then that's obsessive and there's no reason behind it. Now I understand that weighing your food is not at all obsessive inherently. And you could look at any nutrition plan and any way of eating where you are consciously deciding what to eat and you're not just haphazardly shoveling food in your mouth as you feel like it. You could look at any intentional nutrition plan and you can make it obsessive and disordered. And whether you're measuring your food in a cup or counting calories or buying pre-made packaged food from some diet plan, all of those things can be obsessive and disordered. And when I decided, macros is the direction I need to go, I mainly decided on it because I just realized my body was already counting macros. So if you're going to go and, eat a turkey sandwich, You take that bite and your body is like, oh yay, here's some turkey, let's go build some muscle with the protein. Here's some whole grain bread, let's take that fiber and let's keep our digestive system healthy with it. And let's take the carbohydrates and use that for energy. And let's take the avocado that you put on there and use that healthy fat for hormone signaling in the body. And let's just take all these pieces of this meal and distribute it where my body needs it to thrive. And when you decide to learn how to eat in a balanced way using macros as your guide, you are just helping your body thrive. And the number one thing I hear from my clients, whether they just do one-to-one session or they are an ongoing one-to-one client, is how much better they feel once they start following a macro plan. Number one, more energy. Number two, not hungry all the time. Number three, often starting to sleep better and noticing that they have more energy for their workouts. And it's just because you're giving your body what it needs and you're doing it in a scientifically informed way, where my goal when I work with you is for you to learn to nourish your body. My goal isn't to have you lose 20 pounds in 3 weeks. If you're trying to lose 20 pounds in 3 weeks, you're not going to feel so good. You're not going to feel so energized. You might for the first couple days, but over time you're going to feel really lousy, really cranky, really irritable, and it's not going to be an enjoyable process. So getting honest about what your body actually needs and then following a macro plan to give your body what it needs, the best way to do that is to use a food scale. So if you're scared of a food scale and you think that you might become obsessive over it, ask yourself if you've had obsessive tendencies with other programs and maybe how you can look at this a little bit differently. Because I will tell you, I don't obsess over the numbers. And the other thing to think about is that you're going to be using those numbers to nourish your body, and that means you're making sure you're getting enough. I don't look at it in a restrictive way, because getting enough protein, especially at first, was really hard for me. So me weighing my food was making sure I was eating enough and getting more of what I needed in a very informed way versus following an arbitrary plan. The plan I used to follow, where 2 eggs was supposedly a serving of protein. 2 eggs has maybe 14 or 15 grams of protein if you're lucky. And I was supposed to eat 4 servings of protein per day. So if I'm eating, let's say, let me be generous and say that 2 servings of eggs, 15 grams of protein, and I'm eating that 4 times a day, that's only 60 grams of protein. And you know how much protein I eat now? I eat 150 grams of protein per day. So following a macro plan is not a guesstimate. It is a science-based way of making sure that you are giving your body enough food. And when I first start working with people, and we're going to talk about this in the step-by-step guide that I'm giving you right now, but the first thing we do is learn to nourish your body. We do not go into fat loss mode or anything like that. The first steps are just learning to freaking eat in the way that your body needs you to, because most of you out there don't know how to do that. You know how to be on a diet and you know how to be off a diet, but you don't know how to nourish your body without trying to lose weight at the same time. And that's something I've talked about multiple times on here. Okay, so can we just agree that you need a food scale, that you're going to use it to learn to nourish your body and not be, disordered and looking to eat less? You are actually using the food scale to make sure that you're eating enough protein, enough fiber, and you're also learning what the foods that you are eating, you're learning what they are giving to you. You're learning how those foods are nourishing your body. So let's get started. Now that you're going to get your food scale, you're also going to get a tracking app. So this is the very first step. You need to go out there and get some sort of tracking app, and This is one of those things where what's the word I'm looking for? Technology. Technology is a beautiful thing. Can you imagine trying to count macros, having to like look things up in a little like dictionary and having to figure that out on pen and paper? I cannot even imagine how stressful that used to be back in the day. So now we have our smartphones, which are these powerful little computers in our pocket, and there's a whole bunch of apps. I'm just going to say right off the bat, I use Lose It app. If you are even considering working with me as your coach, then I would just download the Lose It app, because if you decide to jump in with me as your coach, I have a contract with Lose It app where I can see everything that you're doing in the app. I can see your tracking if you connect with me on the app. And that's what I use to see what my clients are eating, how they're doing with their goals. And it's such an important part of the coaching process because I can really see patterns. I can see your blind spots. I can see, different ways that I can help you problem solve by seeing your food journal. So definitely recommend the Lose It app. There's other ones out there. There's Chronometer, there's MyFitnessPal, stuff like that. But I find that Lose It app is really simple. They've got so many, it's rare that I am not able to find the food that I'm looking for in there. So that's what I recommend. So step one, download a tracking app and make sure that you buy a food scale. Now, step two, you are just going to track your current eating habits for at least 1 week so that you can learn how to use your food scale and how to use your tracking app. Don't add on to it some crazy meal plan where you're supposed to be eating X amount of this and X amount of that. Just track what you're already doing. Let go of any negative feelings or, shame or whatever. Just take another week doing what you're currently doing and map it out. You can also track, say you go to the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru and you get a breakfast sandwich. You can track that. It's also going to create awareness for you. And you probably didn't know that breakfast sandwich is probably about 1,000 calories and, giving you a lot of fat and stuff like that. You're just going to start to see, maybe you thought you were eating a certain way, but then when you see the cold hard facts, the numbers, you can realize, ooh, maybe I wasn't really eating how I thought I was eating. You can see that maybe you're using too much salad dressing or too much cheese and things like that. And you can also see that you can still fit in your favorite foods, but you just have to learn how to put those pieces together. So track those eating habits for at least 1 week, okay? And we're not even getting to the part yet where I'm telling you in step 3, you're not even there yet. You're just learning how to track what you're already doing. Step 3, I want you to go on my website and I'm going to put the link to my macros calculator for you. And you're going to type in your numbers, your height, your age, your weight, your activity level. And my calculator is going to give you a bunch of numbers, and you are going to use those numbers and customize your tracking app. I should have mentioned in step 1, please ignore whatever the tracking app is telling you as far as like calories and stuff like that. You just want to be tracking what you're currently eating so you can learn how to use the app. And once you calculate your macros, then figure out how to customize the goals in your tracking app. And usually you can just Google it. Like for Lose It, I provide this link to my clients, but you can just Google how to customize your goals in Lose It app, and you can learn how to set your daily calories, your daily protein, your daily fiber goals, so that you can very easily see where you're falling once you start deciding to actually have some goals and not just eat however you feel like eating. So once you calculate those macros and you customize things in the tracking app, I want you to follow your maintenance calories. And when you go to my macros calculator, it's going to give you your maintenance calories and it's going to give you your fat loss your calorie deficit, your fat loss calorie deficit. I know it's tempting to jump right into that fat loss calorie deficit number, but I want you to start in with the maintenance numbers because, again, now you're learning how to nourish your body. And I want you to track your food in maintenance for a minimum of 2 weeks, okay? So a minimum, you're probably going to need longer. You're probably going to need at least 4 weeks, maybe 12 weeks to just eat at maintenance and figure out what that looks like. And so many people want to rush through this. And eating at maintenance is life-changing. If you can eat at maintenance and build muscle while you're eating at maintenance, this is like the most enjoyable part of the process, because once you enter fat loss mode, if you do it correctly, it's really not that enjoyable. And I personally don't intend to spend a lot of my adult life in fat loss mode anymore. And you can still change your body, build muscle, build confidence, eating in maintenance, and working to build muscle. Now, the one caveat I have here is, of course, you should be, as I say on here all the time, you should be following your doctor's recommendations. If you have not been to a doctor's appointment, you need to go, you need to get a physical, you need to get your blood work done. And if they tell you you have high cholesterol or hypertension or your blood glucose is at risk, you're pre-diabetic, there's so many things that they can see from that appointment, then you need to follow their orders on what your next step should be. If they tell you you need to lose some weight right away and you can work with a registered dietitian that they offer you, then you absolutely need to do this. But if you've been to the doctor, your blood work looks fine, everything looks good, then you can absolutely just stay in maintenance, learn how to nourish your body, and work on your relationship with food, your relationship with the scale, and just finding peace with your body during this time. Now, like I said, a minimum of 2 weeks, just learning what foods work for you, you're still learning how to use the app. Remember, this is all a learning process and there's going to be ups and downs. You need to learn how to track all the time. Track when you go out to dinner, track when you have a holiday, just to inform yourself of, if you are someone who is sitting there and you are like, I keep gaining weight and I don't know why. This is going to tell you why. Now, number one, you have to be honest about your activity level. You may be trying to convince yourself that you have a higher activity level than you do. I try to be really clear in my calculator of what that looks like, but I only consider myself to have a moderate activity level. And I get in, a good 8,000 to 10,000 steps per day, and I work out pretty hard 4 days a week, but I still know that I'm not as active as I was, say, when I used to work 12-hour shifts on the labor and delivery unit, and I was probably walking, easily 5 to 6 miles just during that shift. Remember when pedometers first became a thing, I'm aging myself here, but we would put them, they gave them to us on the unit just to see how far the average nurse was walking in a day. And it was high. It was like 5, 6, 7, even 8 miles in a day sometimes, depending how long your shift was. So I know I was much more active when I had that job where I was walking around all the time. But the truth is, my job now, I'm sitting here recording a podcast and I'm sitting on my butt. I am not walking around. So you really have to be honest about what your activity level is. If you have a desk job and the only activity you're getting is a workout and walking, and you're not wearing anything that's telling you how many steps you're getting per day, I would err on the side of you're probably slightly less active than you think you are. So anyway, you're going to track in maintenance for, like I said, a minimum of 2 weeks, but honestly, you're going to benefit so much if you can do this for 3 to 6 months to just be in maintenance. That is what I did, and it was the most liberating experience of my life. And you're going to learn so much about yourself when you're taking that pressure of weight loss off and giving yourself this time. And think of it as an investment. Think of it as an investment in your long-term happiness. Because if you can take this time to really learn how to nourish your body and how to eat properly, it's going to empower you when you finally do get to a point where it makes sense for you to start a fat loss phase. All right, so you're going to track your maintenance calculation, go through that process of working to build muscle and learn how to fuel your body properly. And then step number 5 is you want to continue to build on your habits. You want to be aiming to hit your calorie and your protein and fiber goals, again, for that maintenance number. But you're also going to be working to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. You want to be reducing stress in your life. You want to be reducing or eliminating alcohol. And there's this whole little extra things that go into the Feel Your Best formula, but macros are the foundation for it. And adding in these other smaller habits are really going to support your overall nutrition. So I'm actually going to include a printable that this is a tracker that I actually give to my clients. I don't provide it publicly anywhere. I've never provided it publicly, but I'm going to put that here where you can download this habit tracker and have that as your goal to work towards getting, number 1, the nutrition under control, but then number 2, adding in these additional supportive habits. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down below. Go ahead and opt into it and get that printable for yourself. So 5 steps to get started with macros. Number 1, download a tracking app and purchase a food scale. 2, track your current eating habits for at least 1 week without making any intentional changes. Then go to my page and calculate your macros. I'm going to put the link below. And get those maintenance numbers. What are your maintenance calories? What are your maintenance protein and fiber goals? And track that maintenance for a minimum of 2 weeks. But honestly, I'd rather see you do it for 3 to 6 months. And then number 5, continue to build on those habits. And you can do that after the 2-week mark of, tracking your maintenance. But continue to build those habits, like I said, with the sleep and getting your steps in and decreasing the stress in your life, decreasing the alcohol that you're drinking, and aiming to hit those continuing to aim to hit those calorie, protein, and fiber goals. And I'm going to give you a tracker that you can use to track those habits. So that's how you get started. And, take it at whatever speed works for you. The whole point is to be moving forward towards those goals. And the benefits of having a coach and hiring someone like me are, number 1, I'm going to be able to see patterns and blind spots that you are unaware of. I can look at what you're doing and say, hey, do you notice that on Fridays you tend to go over on your fat? You tend to eat a lot more calories, and then we'll look at what are those habits on Fridays and what are some ways that we can work around that, or do you want to keep it that way? And it's not about me sitting here and imposing on you that you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need to do that. No, here is a foundational formula for you to feel your best. So let's build on that foundation and make it specific and customized for you in a way that you're going to be able to stick to for the long run. So that's it. 5 steps to get started with macros. I hope that you found this episode really informative, and I will continue to give you more tips on macros as we, move forward with more episodes. But I felt like it was really important for us just to get started with what are those first 5 steps like. And what did I say at the beginning? Patience is your best friend to long-term results. And when it comes to step 4 and step 5, that's where you're going to need to have the patience, because we're not even talking about getting into a fat loss phase here. Very, very few people are actually ready to enter a fat loss phase right away when they start macros. And if you're working with someone who right away is going to have you enter a fat loss phase without building these foundational habits, then it's just going to end up like every other diet that you've ever tried, honestly. So, all right, hit me up with messages, or you can reach me. Oh my gosh, I am now on Threads, which I am loving. So Threads is the new sort of Twitter-esque branch of Instagram and Facebook, and I am loving it over there. You can find me at Macros with Lil and follow me, and I will follow you back. But it's really fun over there, and I hope that it continues to be a really fun place. But I'm going to be posting things like links to my recipes, things that I can't really do on Instagram very easily, because on Instagram, when you post links, it decreases the number of people that it shows it to. And I'm just really going to have fun playing around with a little bit more behind the scenes, showing you a little bit more of my personality and things that I'm doing over there. So if you're on Threads, follow me over there at Macros with Lil, and I will follow you back. Okay, that is it for episode 34. I will see you back here on Friday for our mini session. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to check the episode details for my new listener starter guide, and any additional resources mentioned in the episode can also be found in the show notes on my website. You can always find me on Instagram at Macros with Lil, and for more healthy lifestyle tips, recipes, and information on my one-to-one and group coaching services, make sure to check out my website. All the links can be found below. If you know someone else who is ready to start building their formula for feeling their best, please share the love and send them a link to the podcast. I hope you found today's episode helpful, and I'll see you back here next week for a brand new one.